So as she said, my name's Alif. I'm VP of Product Strategy at Disney Consumer Products and Interactive. And before that, I was the VP of Product Management and Revenue, where I focused on product management and optimization of a lot of the products that we make, namely games. And I started at Disney, actually, before then, at a startup called Playdom. We were making Facebook and mobile games, and then was acquired by Disney. And Playdom was a startup that a few of you in the audience actually worked with me at, where it was very data focused. We had a heavy use of looking at information and then making product decisions based on that data. And Disney was a very creative company. They're, as you all know, one of the most creative companies in the world. So when I joined there, and when I started working at Disney, I noticed this amazing opportunity to try and educate the creative folks a little bit more about how to leverage data to use to make their decisions. And so I wanted to share with you guys just this notion of product management, which is basically the discipline that we use to marry those two concepts together, and then two pieces of advice that I learned about team management and how to kind of marry those things together. So what makes a good product manager? What is a product manager, really? Well, first, we think about these people as these individuals that encapsulate three main capabilities. The first one are analytical capabilities. So this product manager or this person on your team is capable of looking at data, digging into it, and saying, what are the insights or the patterns that I see? And what should I then do about this information? It's not just about regurgitating and saying, all right, there's this many people in our game, or this many people are leaving. Like, what is it that you want to do about it? The second piece are the creative insights. So this person then, once you have that information, this person's saying, okay, what creative solutions can I come up with to actually implement into my game or product that is going to actually fix this problem or piece of information that I can see? And finally, the third piece are leadership abilities. So this person needs to be able to actually unite their team and say, hey, I found this information, this seems like a really interesting solution, let's all get behind it and let's try this. It might work, it might not, but let's try it. So this individual needs to be able to encapsulate those three qualities in order to actually help move their product forward in a positive way. So HR actually used to call us unicorns because they didn't really know how we did what we do. And I was like, that's cool, because those product managers make magic, and then they optimize it. So that's kind of how I would talk about it to the HR folks, but of course they need job descriptions, so magic is not a good enough word to put in a job description, unfortunately. So I want to talk about product management in action, actually with one quick story at Disney. There's a game that we have called Frozen Freefall. It's a matching casual game. I'm not sure if any of you guys in the audience have played it or not, but I'm hoping that most of you have actually seen the movie Frozen, which is a massive hit a few years ago. Frozen Freefall was a match 3 game that we launched shortly after the film, and it was performing extremely well. And then I came on board and I went to that team and I started looking at their data, and I noticed a few things. I knew a few areas where I felt that we could actually improve. And I went to the team and I said, hey, this is a group that was more traditionally Disney, if you will. I said, hey, here, I found some great opportunities. I think we can optimize these things, and I really think we can make this game even better. And the response I got at the time was, we're already doing so well, why do we need to change anything? And I just smiled and I was like, okay, if that's the response that you're gonna give, then it clearly shows that we haven't actually done enough. And so that showed me that there was room to grow here. And so what we did together is, through that process of education, we started to implement some new ideas. We did the very first A/B tests on the product, in fact, almost a year after it launched, and started to optimize the storefronts, started to improve the algorithms on level difficulty, started to change some of the feature road mapping that they originally had on their prioritization lists. And the result was that they nearly doubled their lifetime value. They nearly doubled their revenues, doubled their retention. And today, Frozen Freefall is still a very strong performer for the Disney portfolio. That's just one example I wanted to give in the time that I have around how to use that product management focus in going into a product and saying, how do I make this better? Even if it might already be doing really well, there's probably still opportunity to improve. The second topic I wanted to talk about was team management. And communication and leadership is really, really, really important. So a lot of what we do day to day is a science, but communication is kind of like this art. You have to be able to have these knacks or these talents to be able to communicate with people and get your point across, or convince others of an argument, or whatever it is. With good communication, you can inspire people to be leaders in their own right. You can motivate teams to be more effective, and you can even make working together really, really fun. And a lot of the opposites can actually happen with bad communication. So it's kind of important to make sure that you have these qualities. And so as I was building teams out at Playdom and then Disney and working with these different types of individuals with lots of different personalities, I was very interested in how to build a really good team. You know who else was really interested in that too? Our friends right here at Google, the king of people analytics. And these guys had spent over a decade looking at different types of teams, spending millions of dollars in research, and trying to find the right formula for what makes a good team. And so I wanted to actually share with you some of the main insights that they had, because they apply to both, of course, Google, myself, and hopefully all of you. They reviewed the last 50 years of psychological data and a lot of extensive research on their own teams to identify what really was the secret sauce of a good team. So what do you think they found? What of these qualities do you think actually correlated to successful teams? Was it folks that had high individual IQ, or folks with similar interests that you pair together? People who were motivated by the same rewards, educational backgrounds, introverts, extroverts, having the right gender balance, all these different opportunities. They looked at everything and they said, what are the things here? And those of you who are taking pictures, turns out none of those were actually the answer. In fact, there were these unwritten rules that Google noticed, which they then called group norms. Yeah, you're deleting the pictures now. These group norms were actually the things that they identified as having a stronger correlation to a successful team versus an unsuccessful team. And after scouring through those again, they actually whittled it down to 2 group norms, and I'll share those with you today. The first is that in the more successful teams, members spoke in roughly the same proportion. On some teams, everyone spoke during each task, and on others, the kind of leadership bounced from person to person, but at the end of the day, everyone kind of had an equal share of speaking. But, and there's a quote actually that said, as long as everyone got a chance to talk, the team did well. But if only one person or a small group of people hogged the time, the collective intelligence declined. I thought that was really interesting, and you should probably think about it. For those of you who have teams of your own, how is that balance of communication working? Do you make time and make sure that everyone has a chance to speak and have their voice heard? The second group norm that they identified was that all these successful teams had these high average social sensitivities. It's a fancy way of saying that people could intuit how others were feeling based on their body language or their tone of voice, as you can see in this example. People on the more successful teams had more sensitivity to know when others were feeling upset or left out. So again, think back to your own teams. And do you feel like you have a good sense of that? And if you're not sure, I actually have an example for you, a little exercise that we can do right here. It's called the Reading the Mind in the Eyes test. Now this is a psychological study that helps measure social intelligence. It's pretty fun. And I'm not going to go through the entire thing today here, but you can Google it and you can find the link online. But basically, just by looking at somebody's eyes, you can intuit how they might be feeling. So I took out 2 of the examples from the exercise. We're going to try it right here. So I'm going to show you somebody's eyes and give you some options. And you can tell me what you think, what emotion is this person portraying? Are they hateful, jealous, arrogant, or panicked? What do you guys think?
Panicked.
Panicked? I hear panicked? Yes, exactly, correct. Nice job. And finally, the second one. Encouraging, amused, flustered, or contemplative? Contemplative. Anyone think anything otherwise? Encouraging? Contemplative. Yeah, that's okay. Great. So this test, it's like 37 of these that you can go through. What's really interesting and I found really fun is that women tend to score higher than men on average on this, which is awesome to see. But it's a really interesting test. Just another example of being able to see how others feel. So again, going back to your own teams, do you have a sense of, and sort of that sensitivity around when people are being left out, either by talking or by their emotions and their body language? So in essence, those three things I wanted to share with you today, that discipline of product management, bringing that data focus plus creativity plus leadership has been a really, really big X factor for a lot of our teams. And then in terms of actually building the team around yourself and that potential product manager, thinking about how you actually allocate time for everyone to speak and how you actually make sure that everyone can feel sensitive to how people are feeling. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. Thank you guys for listening.